If you've been selling on Etsy for any length of time, you already know the obvious ways your shop can get shut down. Don't sell Disney characters. Don't put Taylor Swift lyrics on a mug. Don't use NFL logos. Don't touch Bluey. And don't make Stanley Cup dupes. Everybody knows this. That's not what takes most shops down. Most shop suspensions happen from the small things, the boring things, the thing the seller didn't even know was a problem. A font, a phrase, a second account, a bank account name that doesn't quite match. So today, I want to walk you through the quiet reasons. And then I want to talk about the part that nobody wants to talk about. The fact that you can do everything right and still have your shop suspended. Here's why I'm not going to soften this. An Etsy shop suspension is not a warning followed by a conversation. It's usually an email and your shop is already gone. Your listings are down, your funds are on hold, and the appeal process is a form and then you waiting for a response. And I want you to really sit with what that means, because I don't think most sellers actually do until it happens to them. If Etsy is where your income comes from, then your entire business is one automated decision away from zero. Not a bad month. Zero. And every customer you've spent years serving is on the other side of a door that you can no longer open because you've never owned the customer relationship. Etsy did. I'm not telling you this to scare you off of Etsy. I built my shop to just under $1 million and I would do it all again. But I spent years running that shop as if it was my business, and it wasn't. It was a sales channel. Those are two very different things, and I learned the difference the hard way. So this video is about two things. The first half is how to lower your risk because most things are genuinely avoidable. The second half is what to do about the part that isn't. This is where I want to point you to something before we go any further. I built you a free Build Beyond Etsy checklist. It's the short list of things that make your business yours instead of Etsy's. Getting customer emails off the platform, where your traffic actually comes from, what you'd need in place to keep selling if a shop disappeared tomorrow. It's not a quit Etsy thing. It's a don't be a tenant forever thing. Links below. Go grab it. Okay, let's talk about the shop. Imagine you found a storefront on a really good street. Great foot traffic all day long. You didn't have to build the street, and you didn't have to convince anyone to walk down it. It was already there. So you move in. You paint the walls, you build your shelves, you learn your regulars' names. 4 years go by, and it's yours in every way that matters to you, but you never signed a lease. There's a policy manual that you skimmed once in year one, but it's been updated 11 times since. You've never met the landlord, and he doesn't have a phone number. And the agreement that you didn't read says that he can change the locks at any moment he decides you've broken a rule, even if it's a new rule that he just put out last spring. Most days, that's fine. There's thousands of shops on that street, and they're open every day. But here's the thing about that agreement. The only thing standing between you and a locked door is you breaking any of those rules, including the ones you don't know about. That's your Etsy shop. And that's why the small stuff matters so much more than what people think. So here are the quiet reasons in 3 groups. Group 1 are the things you don't own. This is the biggest category, and it goes way past cartoon characters. Trademark phrases, not brands, phrases. Ordinary sounding combinations of words that someone has registered, and you can't tell just by looking at them. If it's in your titles or your tags, that's enough. Fonts, clip art, and cut files. Almost everything free comes with a personal use license. Selling a product made with it is commercial use, and that's a different license. Most sellers never check. Another seller's photos or descriptions that you wrote lightly, or mock-ups that you don't have rights to, or a photo of a product that you didn't make. Group 2 is things that don't match. Etsy is quietly checking that you are who you say you are. The name on your payment account should match the name on your shop and your address. One person, one account unless you've gone through the proper process. Helping a friend set up her new Etsy account on your Wi-Fi has gotten shops closed. Etsy sees two accounts from one place and links them. And logging in from a VPN or from a country that doesn't match your registration gets flagged more often than you think. None of this is dishonest. It just looks like something when a system is designed to look for patterns. Health and medical claims. If your product says that it treats, cures, heals, or reduces a condition, that's a policy violation, and sometimes a legal issue. Say what it is, not what it does to the body. Production partner disclosure. If somebody else makes or prints your item, you have to disclose that. Print on demand is included. And review manipulation. Asking a friend to buy or offering something in exchange for a good review is not allowed. Go through those 3 sections on your own shop this week, and I bet most of you find one. Now, the part that I really want you to remember is that you can do every single thing right and still lose your shop. Somebody can register a trademark on a term next week on something that you've been using for 3 years and then go and file a claim against you. And that claim gets actioned upon before anyone looks to see whether or not it holds up. A competitor can report you for something that you didn't do. An automated system can link your account to a shared network that you didn't realize you were sharing. A policy can change and make your listings non-compliant on Tuesday for a reason that didn't exist on Monday. None of that is being careless. And for most in those situations, being right doesn't get your shop back. Even when a claim is later thrown out, the shop is often not reopened. You've just won an argument about a business that no longer exists. So I want to be really direct with you. Lowering your risk is worth doing, and it's worth doing this week. But careful is not safe. On someone else's platform, careful is just better odds. The only thing that actually protects you is having somewhere else to stand. Your own email list, your own website, traffic you own, customers who know your brand, not just your listings. That's not a backup plan. That's a business. Etsy is the street, a fantastic one, the best for getting started, but it is never the building. Go grab that checklist and start on the first thing today. If this video was helpful, hit subscribe. And I'm not a lawyer. For anything specific on your shop, you should talk to one. I'll see you in the next one.